coming to the fire station. We've come for the last few years, and they have all the trucks out, the firefighters are out, so you can ask questions, and it's just fascinating, and I think it's really educational too.
There's an actual sliding fire pole that we have. A technical rescue team simulation of a high-angle rescue. We have inside, we have various activities and educational handouts, and we have an inflated bouncy house for the young kids, although I'm tempted to take my shoes off and go in there myself. And we have our fire apparatus and squad cars that are here for hands-on, and that the kids and the adults can go through.
It's always a nice, exciting, fun time. Most people don't get to see something like this up close, so we like to show it off.
It's kind of a way for the public to come and see the fire station, see what the firefighters do, take a tour of the firehouse, and then we have a bunch of activities.
The City of Elmhurst will be collecting pumpkins for composting at the Elmhurst Public Works Garage, 985 South Riverside Drive, on November 3rd from 9 a.m. to noon. This annual pumpkin composting event is held in cooperation with Scarce, an organization dedicated to inspiring people to care for the earth in DuPage County. Thousands of pumpkins have been purchased this season with the intended use of fall decor. When the season comes to an end, many of these pumpkins are thrown away. The City of Elmhurst has teamed up with Scarce to provide an easy outlet for residents and business owners to recycle decorative pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. Why compost pumpkins? They are full of nutrients that are good for the soil. They are 90% water. Most of the pumpkins processed in the United States are grown in Illinois, so this keeps the water and nutrients here. Composting pumpkins returns nutrients and water back to our earth. All pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns can be dropped off at the event for composting. However, only the pumpkins themselves will be collected. Participants with jack-o'-lanterns decorated with stickers, candles, yarn, etc. should remove any materials in or on the pumpkin before delivering for composting. For more information about this event, please call 630-530-3036 or visit elmhurst.org.
Welcome to Elmhurst Community Unit School District 205, a place where teaching is bold and students are highly engaged in their learning.
Every student and every staff member has a story.
Decisions are made based on what is best for students.
Future-ready classrooms are growing and evolving daily. Those classrooms model the 4 C's, the future-ready super skills of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity.
The educational needs of all students are met, challenging each to his or her full potential and ensuring a foundation for future success in life.
All means all. Rigor, relevance, and relationships form the basis of excellence. Excellence is embedded in culture. Growth is a mindset. Diversity is embraced and celebrated. Opportunities for unique expression abound. History provides inspiration.
Family and community are at the core.
We are committed to raising the bar to create bright futures for our children, preparing and encouraging them to reach beyond their dreams.
My name is Bev Redmond. I am your new Executive Director of Communications and PR. Thank you so much for being here. My task tonight is to introduce someone that I think you all, if you haven't gotten a chance to know, that you really should take the time to get to know. Her name is Mrs. Kara Kafaria. She is a parent and she is the president of our board. She has more than 15 years of residency in our community. 3 of her children are currently enrolled in D205. She is also the former president of Emerson PTA and the Elmhurst PTA Council. Was the co-chair of the Focus 205 community effort, and she is a Those Who Excel merit winner. There's so many other things that you can say about her, but we can sum it up as dedicated and fabulous and a part of our D205 community. Would you welcome Kara Kafaria?
Good evening and welcome. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to first welcome you to this exciting annual event where our community has an opportunity to hear what is happening in our schools. But before I go any further, we have a special message tonight from one of our probably most respected Elmhurst residents.
Welcome to York High School and District 205 State of the Schools Address. It's an exciting time to be part of our Elmhurst community and watch our educational achievements grow day in and day out. I'm so excited to see some of the advancements that have been made, such as the new dual language Spanish immersion opportunities for elementary students, along with Project Lead the Way STEM programming, which gives our middle school students advancement in those areas. And of course, we talk about achievements in theater, sports, and other items in team participation. Our softball team placed 4th in the state this year, and many of our team sports such as Skills USA, DECA, chess team, and the law team all went downstate representing this community and this high school. Our national merit semifinalists were the highest number in history of our organization and our school system. Along with 98% of our school graduates have gone on to 2- to 4-year colleges, military, trade schools, or technical schools to advance their careers as they leave us. And of course, those students received $1.8 million in scholarship assistance as a result of their educational achievements. Why am I so strong about this? because not only was I educated in this town, but I've watched my children be educated in Elmhurst, along now with my grandchildren attending grade school and middle school here in Elmhurst. It's an exciting time that we have here in this town. All you have to do is walk through the town on the weekends and watch the vibrance that exists. Much of that is because of a strong educational system. And also, this is a day and time when we're celebrating the centennial celebration of York High School. So please join me in supporting our system here in education in Elmhurst, along with our school board and our superintendent. Thanks for being here tonight, and enjoy the State of the Schools address.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. So I wanted to begin tonight. I have a couple of introductions to do, but I wanted to begin by taking a moment to introduce to you the Board of Education. If you aren't aware, we are 7 elected community members who volunteer our time to oversee the school district. We have bi-monthly meetings to conduct the business of the district and ensure that the community values are reflected in the decisions made. This year, the board increased its commitment, meeting 3 to 4 times a month in order to rigorously study, problem solve, and engage our community about the current challenges facing our school district, as well as working to prepare for the future. We have worked hard to protect your investment and will continue to do so. And we are honored to serve our community in this capacity. So now it is my personal honor to introduce the 6 members of the board that I serve alongside. So if they would please stand, we have Vice President Dr. Margaret Harrell, who could not make it tonight, Secretary Karen Stufen, Jim Collins, Shannon Ebner, John McDonough, and Chris Bloom, who I don't think could make it either. So thank you. It's a pleasure to serve with you. As you will see tonight in the presentation, District 205 employees walk through the doors each day with their sole focus being our students. We are grateful for their dedication and very proud of all that is being accomplished for our students. I hope as you listen to tonight's presentation, you, as an invested community member, parent, homeowner, taxpayer, employee, whatever your role, will feel that pride as well. Tonight's presentation will be given by our superintendent, Dr. David Moyer. The 2018-2019 school year marks Dr. Moyer's 4th year as superintendent of District 205 and his 9th year as a school superintendent. His 20-plus years of leadership in education have taken him through the ranks of teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and finally, superintendent. I want to share with you a few highlights that District 205 has established for students over the past 3 years under the leadership of Dr. Moyer. We now have innovative and varied instructional practices in the classroom for all students. Intensive reading assessments through Fontes and Pinnell to ensure students are reading on grade level. We have personalized learning through one-on-one technology implementation to help students ensure our students are on the trajectory to be college and career ready. We have enhanced STEM opportunities at all levels with Design STEM, Project Lead the Way, and maker spaces that reflect both the community's values and the needs of our students. Programming at the middle school now includes additional minutes for math and dedicated time for enrichment and interventions. High school experiences have been broadened for students through interdisciplinary classes, career pathways, and soon to launch business incubator. Instructional coaches are in place at all buildings to provide real-time professional development for our teachers. And significant community engagement has taken place to develop a master plan for our community's educational needs for both today and tomorrow. With all of this dynamic growth, District 205 was recently chosen as one of 40 districts across the country to participate in a national innovation and transformational leadership network. And this summer, a lifelong learner himself, Dr. Moyer was one of 32 administrators selected from across the nation who received a scholarship to travel to Helsinki and study the globally recognized Finnish education system and attend a global leadership summit in Berlin with educators and students from around the world. With all that, I am privileged and proud on behalf of the Board of Education to turn tonight's presentation over to our student-centered leader, Dr. David Moyer.
Well, thank you, Kara. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you to the second annual State of the Schools Address. As we are on the cusp of celebrating the 100th anniversary of York High School, I'm struck by what an honor it is to lead a district so steeped in a tradition of excellence. As you can plainly see, we are committed to empowering students, personalizing learning, and ensuring that the needs of all students are met. We do this by focusing on 3 guiding principles and 4 enabling factors. You will see examples of this in action shortly. In District 205, we are committed to being a national leader in future-ready learning. And as we celebrate the past and give you a glimpse of the present, tonight is also a critical time to take pause and consider what a future-focused community of learners must do to maintain and build upon the standard of excellence that this community expects to ensure that future generations of our most precious asset, our children, can receive that quality of education that they need and deserve. I will confidently assert to you that while you will experience examples of many outstanding achievements tonight, I believe that we are only getting started and that the best is yet to come. District 205 is the 27th largest school district in the state of Illinois. We are proud to offer a comprehensive menu of sports, activities, and clubs to help all of our students find their passion. You can see that 75% of our high school students are involved in one way or another in some type of extra or co-curricular experience. We've seen a growing number of students who qualify for free or reduced lunch and increases in our English learner population. Of the 16 schools ranked ahead of York, 8 are private, highly selective schools. This is far from an exhaustive list of all of the incredible things that go on here every single day. If you don't already, I strongly encourage you to follow us on Twitter and check out the hashtag IgniteD205. Daily posts celebrate the engaged learning environments supported by our hardworking teachers and support staff. Again, not an exhaustive list, but here are some of our recent accomplishments. U.S. News & World Report ranked York the 17th best high school in the state of Illinois and top 2% of high schools nationally in 2018. In 2016, Newsweek ranked York the 186th top high school in the nation. District 205 was one of 433 districts in the U.S. and Canada named to the College Board's annual AP District Honor Roll in 2016. Niche ranked our district the 9th best in Illinois. The Communications and PR Department garnered numerous awards from both the National School Public Relations Association and the Illinois chapter known as INSPRA over the past 2 years. The district was awarded a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Association of School Business Officials International for the past 9 years. And recently, we learned that District 205 is one of 40 districts from across the nation selected to participate in the inaugural Innovation and Transformation Leadership Network, a joint effort of the American Association of School Administrators and the International Center for Leadership in Education. I believe that District 205 has clearly demonstrated to the community that it can be trusted to ensure educational excellence and fiscal responsibility. Perhaps that is borne out in the next two slides. District 205 is the only district among its traditional comparison districts to have grown in enrollment over the past 15 years. And it is projected to grow another 1.4% over the next 3 years. District 205 has 3 learning priorities for the 2018-19 school year. As you can see, everything is tied to the vision. We are committed to realizing our vision of all students graduating college, career, and life ready by emphasizing the 6 C's of creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, character, and citizenship. Now we're going to share with you some examples of what this looks like at each grade level, starting with the implementation of a 2-way dual language Spanish immersion program beginning this fall in kindergarten. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ariana Leonard, District 205 Director of Language Acquisition.
Good evening. Thank you. We are so excited to be implementing a 2-way immersion dual language program at Conrad Fisher Elementary School this year. The program is a district program, so it's open to all students in the district, and it is housed at Fisher Elementary. It is 2-way immersion, which means that the classroom composition is made up of partially 50% Spanish speakers and 50% English speakers, and it's starting in kindergarten this year. So every year, we'll be adding a new grade level to the building. It is an 80-20 program, which means that in kindergarten and first grade, 80% of the students' instruction is in Spanish and 20% is in English. The goal of the program is for students to become bilingual, biliterate, and multicultural. By the time they reach 4th grade, they receive half of their instruction in Spanish and half of their instruction in English, and by the time that they reach 6th grade, they are outperforming students on standardized tests in English language arts and math. Thomas and Collier had done a 10-year study in North Carolina, which is what you see on the screen, and their data showed over those 10 years that students who participated in dual programs outperformed their monolingual counterparts on standardized achievement tests. We are really, really, really excited to have dual language here in District 205, and I'd like to give you a little snapshot as to what goes on in our classrooms.
Buenos días, clase.
Buenos días, maestra.
Muy bien. Hoy es miércoles.
Es miércoles.
El 12 de septiembre. Ayer fue martes. El 11 de septiembre. Mañana será. ¿Quién sabe? ¡Oh! ¿Otra vez? Jueves. Mañana será jueves. El 13 de... ¿Qué mes? ¿Quién sabe? Alza la mano. Me
gusta
compartir más. Y yo
puedo.
Muy bien. Tú puedes, Colin, compartir. Muy bien. Can we say muy bien, Colin?
Muy bien, Colin.
Colin, gracias.
Thank you, Ariana. Over the course of the last 3 years, the community has consistently expressed a desire for more STEM opportunities for students. STEM is an acronym that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. One example of this is the addition of Project Lead the Way at our 3 middle schools. The following video features Churchville Project Lead the Way teacher, Peter Ritchie.
curriculum wants you to get into it. Really, it's hands-on, it's involved, it's going to be loud, it's going to be messy, and that's what we want to see. Kids working in groups, collaborating, working on their communication skills, and really developing that problem-solving ability. We introduced this first project is going to be working for creating ankle foot orthosis for a child with cerebral palsy. So we watched a little video about what even CP is, give the kids an understanding. I had them walk around the room, walking with their normal gait, then walking on their toes so they could kind of feel the difference of what it would be like for a child with cerebral palsy and how the project they're going to do will help them and ease some of that tension.
We get to build stuff already and it's only the third day, so that's fun. We're making like foot braces, and we have to make it so you can't stand on your toes for people that have problems with their muscles. So that's fun, and my sister's doing it too, so I can talk about it with her at home.
And that's one of the things I like about Project Lead the Way. It's not just about building stuff. It actually has that bigger impact on society, and really that how do we offer something to make somebody's life better. When I was in the math classroom, kids would raise their hand, well, why do I have to know this? Well, now I can say, you know, in math class, when you're doing this, this is why.
Interdisciplinary learning is an emphasis in District 205. In order to get to the highest levels of rigor, students must experience a relevant curriculum, and today's world can no longer be boxed into content areas. This fall, for the first time, York High School is offering an American Studies course at the junior level. Here to tell you about it is faculty member Rebecca McKinney and two of her students, Aiden Frank and Henry Miller.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Those classes looked so cool. I don't know if we can compete, but let me tell you what's cool about American Studies. So traditionally, when you're studying English or history in a class, you have that subject, English, you go to that class, you read books, you write papers, and then you go to history class, and I guess you learn about history. I don't know. Traditionally, I teach English. American Studies is a two-period class with two teachers and approximately double the students. And together, we teach history and English to those students for those periods. At York, I co-teach with Charlie Kern, and we have two sections, and Lindsay DiTomaso and Kelly DeLoria have two sections. And students have had a very enthusiastic response. My goal is to tell you why that's different from the typical class. And what we're doing is not just having them do English and then do some history, but to be critical thinking citizens. So for instance, you guys out in your day, in your world, I assume that when you come to a problem in your life, you don't go, let me put on my English hat and solve this problem from an English perspective, or let me put on my history hat and solve this from a history perspective, or a math perspective, or a science perspective. You bring all the tools in your toolbox and solve the problems in your daily lives, which is what we're asking students to do. So we give them problems and ask them to solve them like critical thinkers and use the tools that we give them. So first, I want to show you what students are saying.
I like American Studies because for me, I didn't really know what class to take my junior year. I had just come out of regular English as a sophomore year, and I didn't know if I wanted to make the step up to AP Lang, and American Studies was kind of that middle of the road class, and so I figured I'd give it a try, and I ended up really liking it.
Henry, what do you like? Henry really is a trooper being here. He's got a broken leg.
Well, I sort of enjoy the way we learn history, because we've already have some sort of background from past years in school, and I think it's cool that we get to sort of go back to things that we've kind of already learned, but we get to see little pieces that we may not have known and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, so, very nice. So we wanted to show you one of the activities that we do, and we wanted to have the students explain what they've done before. So, okay, so in class, what we did is passed out excerpts from Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. The goal is for students to find out, how do you persuade someone to do something? So this is an excerpt, and it reads, this is going to require these. They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary, but when shall we be stronger? Will it be next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed, or when the British Guards shall be stationed in every house? What shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction till we acquire the means of effectual resolution by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means which the God of nature hath placed in our power. We'll look in a minute at rigor and at, this is rigorous because it's an archaic text in some ways, and it challenges the kids, but also because they have to learn rhetoric, which is ethos and pathos, and how do we persuade people using this? Aiden?
In the yellow, he's talking about how, when are we going to make this change? Is it going to be in a week? Is it going to be next year? And by the time that we make this change, is it going to be too late? And so, if I was using this for an essay, I would really play up the pathos part, that emotionally he's trying to make them say, we can't wait any longer, and this is the best time to make the change.
Sorry, Henry.
All right, and in blue, we've also got some logic or logos, and it sort of plays off the pathos from earlier in the excerpt, and sort of provides like a bit of reasoning to go behind that emotion.
So basically, the purpose of this kind of an exercise is, rhetoric is an English skill, and this is a historical text, and it's just to illustrate the idea that we're blending these two things together. And yeah, this is an old text, but both of these kids are going to have to use this in their future lives. Aiden wants to go into theater, and when he told me that, I was like, yeah, that sounds great, but you're also going to have to persuade people, maybe to give you money, maybe to give you space, maybe to buy things from you, maybe to employ you somewhere else. And all the kids answer the question working in groups, how do you persuade someone? So as we give them these activities, they answer a larger question that they can apply in their regular lives. So, thank you. That's it, we're done.
Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. This slide here, Rebecca was talking about rigor and relevance and how they try to build that into all of their activities. We use this graphic to try to help people get their head wrapped around what do we really mean by rigor, so that we can have some type of an organizational, operational definition that we can all agree to, that is consistent. And so what we try to do is get people to move to the highest levels of rigor, and that is a combination of the actual content itself, as well as the experiential part of real-world applications. So, on the horizon at York High School, I'm going to have Principal Aaron DeLuga give you a little taste of what's next.
Thanks, Dr. Moyer. Thanks to Ms. McKinney, Aiden, and Henry, and Mr. Poduska, our English department chair, for all their support and really giving kids the ability to have real-world experiences. I am so passionate about that. I want kids to be prepared for life beyond college. And Coming up is manufacturing. We're doing that now, our business incubator. And we also have some great career pathways, project lead the ways on the horizon. And hopefully a medical careers lab will be on the horizon if the referendum does go through on our 3rd floor. So all really great things, but great for kids. So I really appreciate everyone being here and listening to our students present. Thank you.
As I stated earlier, we've just scratched the surface of what's possible here in District 205. And more than 3 years of community engagement, beginning with Focus 205 and including 2 scientific phone polls, an interactive online survey, large group and small group meetings, focus groups, an educational alignment study, and an all-day kindergarten study yielded several findings. Most of the things that the community values have been implemented or are in the process of being implemented. However, significant facility issues linger, and the district cannot implement an all-day kindergarten option without more space. So on August 20th, the Board of Education unanimously voted to put the question to the voters on the November 6th ballot. Without new revenue, the district will not be able to address the remaining priorities expressed by the community. You're sitting in this beautiful space this evening because in 2000, the community agreed that it could no longer ignore the conditions that students and teachers were subject to on a daily basis. While the needs of York and Hawthorne were addressed in previous referenda, they are reaching the age where regular routine maintenance cycles have or will soon begin to kick in. In addition, the district has 13 sites to maintain and must find a permanent home for its transition center, a program for students with special needs between the ages of 18 and 22. We currently have 5 different videos posted on our website chronicling the condition of our facilities. What I'm going to show you now is a compilation of clips from those videos.
Every time that it rains really hard and really fast, Emerson is kind of overwhelmed with water. A couple weeks ago, we actually had 75% of the first floor that was underwater within 10 minutes. The teachers who it impacts when the water gets into their classrooms, they have to basically re-put together their classrooms every time.
I was not here for this, but prior, the entire basement flooded, which caused a significant amount of damage to our library. With our library being in the basement too, that was an area of pretty significant concern there. Anytime we get water, if it comes quickly, we're going to have water in the building. So in our storage facilities, which has damaged furniture and other things because we don't have other places to store them, we take on water. We take on water in a couple of our classrooms, and actually our water comes into the auditorium there as well, runs down the wall and into our learning center.
In this summer, when going into a room, having been closed over the weekend, but then going in, there was mold all over the surfaces. One of the stories that kids can't wait to tell me about, were about the mushrooms growing on the floor of their art room.
Here at Jackson, we have 2 spaces that are not ADA compliant. One is our basement, which we use as our conference room where we meet with parents, but also our instructional space for our occupational therapy and for our band and orchestra students. Our music classroom is on our stage, which is in our MPR, and that is not ADA compliant as well. So we have 2 students currently in wheelchairs that have music with their class, either in a classroom space or in our gym.
Having to climb 3 flights of stairs anytime you want to get up to 4th grade, 3rd grade. It's inconvenient. I think it's dangerous. Climbing those flights on a regular basis is dangerous. There are times when the elevator has not worked and we've not been compliant, ADA compliant.
The elevator was broken, so I had to get around the school without the elevator with crutches. So Miss Maggie took my crutches and I would have to scoot up and down the stairs on my butt, and it got super annoying.
I've been here for about 20 years, and as the years have gone on, I've just kind of seen our building deteriorate. The bathrooms are constantly overflowing or flooding, or water is running, so that's on a weekly basis. In my classroom, every time the heat is on, it floods at the bottom. Water drips from my ceiling. I only have 2 windows, they don't have screens. So overall, it disrupts our teaching.
I have a thermometer in here, and in the winter there were times it got up to 94 degrees when we were in here. It also had a thermometer that told the 24-hour high, and at one point it was 104 degrees in here.
There have been no significant changes to the infrastructure in this auditorium since the 1970s, other than safety issues. However, there are still things falling from the ceiling. I'm looking at plaster on the stage floor right now. The lighting system is probably the greatest ongoing need here. The fixtures are just completely burned out. The wiring has no insulation on it, so it's very dangerous. And we can no longer replace the bulbs because they're an old-fashioned incandescent bulb, which is now illegal to buy.
The boiler rooms are about 50 years old. They're original to the building. The chillers out there that provide air conditioning to the building were installed in the mid-90s, and they're past useful life cycle right now. The cooling tower is rusted through. We had to do some coatings on there. We have issues with the tuck pointing. We have leaks coming in there with the masonry work, roof leaks out there. It's just a building with just the basic needs of maintenance, and the equipment is crumbling, and it's original to the building that it needs to be upgraded. We have a parking lot that has not just potholes in a couple areas, it's throughout the whole parking lot. This front entrance, we need to redo that to make it more conducive and more secure for the individuals in the building. So there's a lot of needs that need to happen here at Churchville.
The Transition Center is a really special part of our district. It has some facility needs just like our other buildings do. It is small. The population is growing. There are significant parking issues in trying to pull buses in and vans, and this facility is limited. It is inflexible, and because it's rented, can't make the investment in the infrastructure to make it best serve the student population that comes through here over the years.
When guests come to Bryan Middle School, they'll walk down this entryway and they'll buzz on the camera. When they buzz, our main office staff, our 2 ladies in there, will look at the screen. They'll ask them what their purpose of their visit is, who their student is, and then based on that information, we'll allow them in. It becomes complicated for our ladies because they are very busy. So while they are going on with their daily tasks, it is challenging for them to monitor guests coming into the building. When they do buzz guests in, it does become tricky because guests do have access to all areas of the building when they do walk into the building.
My biggest concern, obviously, I feel, is that when anybody is buzzed in through our entrance, they have direct access to our halls, which is access to our students, which puts really an undue burden on our staff to ensure that everybody is securely checked in, to make sure that we're meeting them. If we're not sure where they're going, we're meeting them at the door. And while we have excellent office staff that are doing that to keep our kids safe, it also puts an extra role onto them to make sure that we are ensuring that piece every day.
The Master Facilities Plan is divided into 3 major categories, and if voters authorize the district to move forward, it will ensure that all students, regardless of attendance center, have access to similar learning opportunities. So what do we mean by future ready? Future ready learning spaces include media centers, STEM labs, maker spaces, collaboration zones, and spaces that support career pathways and interdisciplinary learning. The vision of the district is for media centers to be the pulse of the school, the hub of learning, a buzzing area where excitement for learning permeates. Included in the plan is the technology infrastructure to support modern learning environments. The community has repeatedly indicated that safety and security should be a top priority. The plan includes modernizing all entrances to control access to the building. In addition, as strong as our fine arts program is, the York Auditorium, which was cut out of the 2000 York project, is in desperate need of attention. Not only is the sound and lighting inadequate, forcing the program to rent equipment for every performance, the space is becoming increasingly unsafe for student occupancy. There's no easy way to say this. Lincoln Elementary School is a mess, and Field is not far behind. Lincoln is 103 years old, and Field is 87 years old. Handicapped accessibility, temperature control, and water issues plague both schools. Learning spaces are small, lack natural light in some cases. Play areas are small or unusable for significant portions of the year. Field is perhaps the prime example of a poorly designed entrance. They are incredibly inefficient to operate. Together, those needs drove the development of the master facilities plan. The desire to move toward all-day kindergarten was factored in, and the rest of it took shape based on additional community priorities such as safety and security, parity, and future-ready learning opportunities. The estimated cost to upgrade the existing building at Lincoln is $26.5 million, whereas the cost to build new is approximately $32.5 million. In the case of Field, a major renovation was considered at an estimated cost of $21.6 million. A new field is projected to cost $29 million. In both cases, the board believed that it was a better long-term decision to build new. By parity, we mean that if the referendum passes, all buildings will be brought up to a district standard. For example, Jackson and Jefferson do not have central air, Churchville does not have an auditorium, and Fisher does not have a stage. Those and other issues are addressed in the plan. The transition center has been mentioned. Madison is not designed to be an early learning center. It would be renovated to include developmentally appropriate learning spaces and increased space to accommodate more students. An expansion at Edison is important for a variety of reasons. First, it is one of the only buildings in the district that has room to expand. It will provide the space necessary to accommodate an all-day kindergarten option at neighborhood schools. It will allow the district the ability to better balance class size, a stated community priority. 7 classrooms would be added, enough for all-day kindergarten, and to provide flexibility for future enrollment growth and programming needs. An auxiliary benefit, but an important one, is that it gives the district space to house students from Lincoln and Field during the construction phase at each site. It is desirable to build with students off-site for the following reasons: a better and cheaper design, less disruption of instruction, and less inconvenience to the neighborhood. For example, in the case of Lincoln, it would cost $2.7 million more to build and take 3 years to complete instead of 1. Trailers would cost approximately $3 million, taking funds away from other priorities for temporary space. They would need to be deployed at multiple sites, causing a variety of issues for affected families. The project would be completed in 3 phases to coincide with the availability of funds. The Board of Education has done an excellent job of managing debt, saving taxpayers $13.6 million through refinancing. This, combined with expiring bonds, additional refinancing, and issuing bonds in 3 phases, issuing new bonds in phases, will allow the district to finance the project without peaks and valleys in the tax rate throughout the life of the bonds. The tax impact would be leveled out over the course of the bonds. In 2019, $25 million would be available, in 2021, $50 million, and in 2023, the remaining $93.5 million will become available. Therefore, the district would complete the Edison project and the portions of the Bryan project that would address the main entrance and increase classroom space at the school. This will create space necessary to move Lincoln students during construction, which would begin in the summer of 2021. Once designs are finalized and bids are accepted, the district will know the amount of money available to begin work on other priorities. Though the exact order of work in phases 2 and 3 is yet to be determined, the district is aware of the fact that the community would like to see safety and security upgrades at all buildings as quickly as possible. In phase 3, a similar process at Field would be replicated as at Lincoln, and the remaining work would be completed. All-day kindergarten and balancing class sizes is accomplished through minor boundary adjustments. A portion of students south of Butterfield Road who are currently bused to Jackson would be bused to Edison. Edison boundaries would be adjusted west to York Road. However, students between York and Kenmore would have the option of attending either Hawthorne or Edison. Affected students south of Butterfield would have the choice of attending either Bryan or Sandburg middle schools. When timelines are solidified, the board will determine a date in which these adjustments take effect based on the purchase date of a home. Families who purchase a home after a specified date will be bound by the new boundaries. Those who purchase a home prior will have their choice of attending Edison or the school that they would have attended under the previous boundaries. This honors community input on preserving walking neighborhoods, not busing any students who are not currently bused, and avoids moving students away from new construction. 90% of District 205's $120 million budget comes from local sources. By law, Illinois is supposed to fund more than half the cost of public education in the state. Currently, it funds 24% of the cost of public education, last in the nation. The national average is 46.5%. The district currently spends about $1.5 million per year on routine maintenance. As the buildings continue to age, this is no longer sufficient. Schools are funded by fund with a levy associated with each fund. 80% of the district budget is tied to the education fund, which accounts for all dollars spent on instruction. 80% of that is a fixed cost dedicated to salaries and benefits. The only way to find new money for maintenance would be to reallocate money from the education fund, which would require program or staff cuts. However, as one can see, even if the district were to redirect money from the education fund to capital outlay, it would be a drop in the bucket for what is required to build a new school or address the many needs across the district. The referendum asks the community to authorize the district to sell $168.5 million worth of bonds as described earlier. This would result in an average annual tax increase on a $500,000 home of $150. Currently, the district tax rate ranks in the bottom half of its comparison schools. The board and the administration have taken seriously its responsibility to the community to provide excellent educational opportunities for children while managing resources effectively, and has risen to the challenge. The district website features a link to the master facilities plan, which includes details about the concepts discussed tonight. I strongly encourage you to educate yourself on the issue and vote. A second meeting focusing on finances is scheduled for 7 o'clock Monday, September 24th at Lincoln School, and there will be building tours of Lincoln beginning at 6 p.m. I'd like to thank all of you for attending tonight. I truly appreciate everything our educators do for children every day. I never tire of hearing their stories. As we celebrate our accomplishments, let us also contemplate what excellence might look like 20 years from now, with the hope that the people in this room then will be just as proud as all of us are now. Thank you.
We certainly, pull this up. We certainly thank all of you for attending this evening. And Dave, do we have any time for any Q&A if we need?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Appreciate Dr. Moyer taking a few questions from the audience, if there be any. If you have some, there are 2 mics that will be run around by either Jenna or Kate, and we certainly will take those questions on this evening.
I have a question. There's been some contradictory information about the number of classrooms Fisher is getting. On some things it says 1, some things it says 2. How many classrooms are they getting? 2. Are they both new, or is one being repurposed?
We don't have specific design plans for any of these projects at this point, but the idea that is currently on the table is that when we add the stage at Fisher, we would incorporate into that a classroom that could be used for music. So that would free up one of the classrooms. And then when we get the designs for the entrance and the other future-ready portions of the project, we would include in there a redesign of space that would ensure that we also get an additional classroom through that process.
Well, we certainly will not belabor your evening. Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for attending our State of the Schools address. Have a great evening.
Welcome to the Elmhurst History Museum. I'm Patrice Roach of the museum staff, and today we're going to take you on a tour of our current exhibit, Chicago Rink Rats, the golden age of roller skating. We're here in the Chicago Rink Rats exhibit with our curator of exhibits, Dan Bartlett. And Dan, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of the Rink Rats exhibit.
We're standing right now in front of one of the central pieces of the exhibit, which is a large map of the Chicago area that has copies of a lot of the artwork that roller rinks used to advertise themselves. This is only a small fraction of the number of rinks that were in Chicago during the Golden Age, but we wanted to create a real visual sense of just how many rinks there were, drawing skaters in from the Chicago area and providing that kind of recreation and community that was so prevalent during the Golden Age.
To Paris comes the latest export from America, the skating vanities. Acclaimed as the hit of the Paris season, the vanities now plan a world tour.
Today we have the Icecapades, which features famous ice skaters. In the 1940s, we had the Skating Vanities, and the Skating Vanities featured a young skater by the name of Gloria Nord. And here we have one of her costumes worn probably around 1945 that's on loan to us from the National Museum of Roller Skating in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think it speaks a lot to the importance of roller skating at this time. Millions of young women in particular wanted to go to the rinks and emulate Nord's graceful skating style. And to have a costume that she actually wore in performance here really speaks to the popularity of roller skating during the Golden Age. During the Golden Age of roller skating, there were really only two ways to make music loud enough for the skaters to hear above the din of the wheels. And the first of those was to hire an orchestra or a band, and that was expensive. The second way was to acquire a theater organ. And the Elm Rink here in Elmhurst had one of the largest and best theater organs in the Chicago area. 4 banks of keys, over 1,000 pipes. We have a few of the pipes here. We also have the sign that hung on the side of the organ that the organist would change their name so that the skaters knew which of the organist was playing. So if you skated at the Elm and you skated to organ music at the Elm, you heard some sound coming out of one of the 3 pipes that we have here.
Thanks for taking this sneak peek of the Chicago Rink Rats exhibit with us here at the Elmhurst History Museum. You'll want to be sure to see the entire exhibit, which is open through November 4th, 2018. For more information, please visit our website at elmhursthistory.org.
The City of Elmhurst will be collecting pumpkins for composting at the Elmhurst Public Works Garage, 985 South Riverside Drive, on November 3rd from 9 a.m. to noon. This annual pumpkin composting event is held in cooperation with Scarce, an organization dedicated to inspiring people to care for the earth in DuPage County. Thousands of pumpkins have been purchased this season with the intended use of fall decor. When the season comes to an end, many of these pumpkins are thrown away. The City of Elmhurst has teamed up with Scarce to provide an easy outlet for residents and business owners to recycle decorative pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. Why compost pumpkins? They are full of nutrients that are good for the soil. They are 90% water. Most of the pumpkins processed in the United States are grown in Illinois, so this keeps the water and nutrients here. Composting pumpkins returns nutrients and water back to our earth. All pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns can be dropped off at the event for composting. However, only the pumpkins themselves will be collected. Participants with jack-o'-lanterns decorated with stickers, candles, yarn, etc. should remove any materials in or on the pumpkin before delivering for composting. For more information about this event, please call 630-530-3036 or visit elmhurst.org.